How's it going, everyone? I'm out walking in the green and pleasant lands that are Derbyshire, a very large county in the free speech nation, because that's where we live now, isn't it? The free speech nation. So just in the last week, we've had a Palestinian NHS doctor arrested by 10 police officers for tweets, struck off for 15 months, released, and then re-arrested yesterday, again, for tweets. We've got a guy in Wales being sentenced to 20 months imprisonment for tweets by a judge that let a child rapist go free because prisons are overcrowded. They're not too overcrowded for a guy that tweets, though. Plenty of room for that dude. You've got a woman who was arrested again by about 10 police officers, turned up at her house while she was in the bath. Not even for a tweet or for anything on social media, but for a message that went out, hey mate, that went out in a WhatsApp group where she used the word faggot. Now I'm old enough to remember when faggot was something you ate. Or maybe it still is, I don't know. But it's mad, isn't it? Now for me, I went out to Mexico in January. And, you know, I'm an Englishman. I'm not a bulldog tattoo type, but I do love my country, and I love the fact that I was born in England, and I feel very privileged that I was. And so I'm out in Mexico, and I've got people from all different countries. Obviously, like Mexicans, we've got, there's a couple of Germans, some Canadians, Eastern Europeans, people from the Balkans, and I had the same when I was in Serbia. Now, a lot of these countries that these people come from, they're not famous for free speech. Yet they were saying to me, ladies and gentlemen, mate, what's going on with your country? And I was looking at it and I'm thinking, do you know what? Like, no disrespect, but if you're at me for my country, then my country must be pretty bad. And it's become renowned the world over for this. Now, there's a few reasons for that. And some of it, ladies and gentlemen, is down to ourselves. Now, for the sake of what I'm about to say, I'm going to say left and right. I understand that left and right don't mean anything anymore. Like, they don't. So I'm using it as a general term, as a generalisation. Maybe as a little bit of how it used to be in the old school, where you had a left wing and a right wing. And the reason why I say it doesn't mean anything anymore is because the Overton window has moved to such a point that everything's skewed, everything's off. So for instance, for me, I was always called a southern softy leftist. Now I know I've said that before on videos, but I was. And my views were then the same as they are now, which is you do you, hun. Live your best life, mate, as long as it doesn't negatively impact or impose on other people that don't want that, right? That used to be a liberal view, and I was called a southern softy leftist. He's a southern softy leftist, right? And when I was playing ice hockey, because I was a teenager when I was playing ice hockey, and when I was a teenager, I was playing with men. As in I was playing ice hockey with men. Do you know what I mean? I wasn't playing with men. And they called me Swampy, who, for anyone that doesn't know, was an eco warrior. He was a guy that basically had dreadlocks, and he dug underneath Twyford Down in Hampshire to try and stop them building the M3 and basically decimating the area. He was a very famous guy. So they called me Swampy. So that's how much of a hippie, southern softy leftist I was. And like I say, the Overton's windows moved to such a point, I get called far right now. It's mad, isn't it? I get called far right, yet my views are exactly the same as they were when I was Swampy the southern softy leftist. So that's how much left and right, do you know what I mean, are so skewed. But for the sake of what I'm going to talk about, let's go old school left and old school right. Let's pretend they're still a thing. Now what you had after the horrendous Southport murders is you had people, probably more on the right, old school right for the sake of this conversation, calling out mass immigration, all that sort of stuff, and tweeting some stuff that in some instances were a bit spicy and weren't very nice. Now those people, some of them, went to prison for those tweets, right? Extraordinary to me. People are going to prison for words, but they did. And of course you had Lucy Connolly, the most famous one, and everyone on the right was coming out and saying this is a freaking disgrace, someone's going to prison for words, this is outrageous. What did those on the old school, what you'd say the left, what did they do? Bugger all. What did they say to speak up for people's rights to free speech. Bugger all. Now, like I say, some of the things that were tweeted were not very bright, not very clever, but do you know what? Guess what? This might come as a real shock to people. People aren't perfect. People say stupid things sometimes. Doesn't mean they need to go to prison for it. But like I say, people on the right are going, this is outrageous. She tweeted something that was ill thought out. She deleted it, she apologised. I mean, she said, basically, you can burn down the migrant hotel for all I care. She didn't call people to do it. She said, you can burn it down for all I care. Stupid thing to say, not very pleasant. Worth 3 years in prison? I don't think so. But people on the left said sod all. Because of tribalism, mate. Now, I call out tribalism all the time. I don't necessarily have a massive problem with tribalism in some ways, in the sense that I get it, you know, find your tribe. You know, charity starts at home. Look after those around you and nearest to you. Whatever, you know, find those people that you can relate to and build that tribe. We spoke about it a lot during COVID when people felt isolated. Find your tribe. I get it, so I'm not dissing it as a thing. What I'm saying is when tribalism is used to such an extreme that you will excuse actions of your side, or you will fail to call out wrongdoing that happens to the other side, then tribalism, ladies and gentlemen, is a freaking problem. So that tribalism of people on the left said, screw Lucy Connolly and screw others. You know, others that just said things like, there's one guy that was like, I can feel that civil war's coming to this country. He's not the only one that thinks that. But he went to prison and no one said anything because, yeah, well, they're not on my side, so screw them, right? And now you've got the situation here where you've got this lad, David Morgan, that's posted some stuff in Wales, he's posted some anti-Israel stuff. Some of it's not very pleasant. I'm not condoning a lot of it and agreeing with a lot of it, but whatever. So he's on the other side. And then you've got this Palestinian doctor, NHS doctor, a very talented doctor from all accounts with an exemplary record, who's now not treating patients because she offended someone on Twitter, being arrested. And what are those people on the right that were sticking up for Lucy Connolly and others, what are they saying? Nada. They ain't saying anything because it's the other side. It's the tribal thing again of arresting and imprisoning for tweets and posts and a crush of free speech is wrong when it happens to me and people I agree with. Now when it happens to people that aren't me and people I don't agree with and, you know, sometimes don't like and find their opinions abhorrent, then I don't care. Screw them. Well, yeah, that's how we all get screwed, folks. You don't have to agree with what people say to agree with their right to say it. And this is coming from someone who takes a freaking torrent of abuse and have done since I was a wee kid. You know, and anyone that's followed me on social media will know that. You know, you can post something and the stuff that comes after it, you know, you're a Freemason shill, your kids aren't yours, you're a tranny, your wife's a tranny, you know, all this stuff. And when my sister passed away, like some of the comments that were tagging me and my dad, like their abhorrent views and anti-science views probably led to her death. This is like the day after I've lost my big sister, do you know what I mean? And I'm reading it, and do you know what I thought? I didn't think about phoning the police, and I didn't think about hitting, you know, report and trying to get them banned. So I thought knobhead. That's what I thought. I looked at it and I thought, what a knobhead. And then I got on with my life. Because as much as those things were abhorrent things to say to me, in my view, and were not very pleasant to read, dude's got a right to say it. Because that's what free speech is. Like if one person doesn't have free speech doesn't exist. Because all that is it's the freedom to say what is agreed. And that's not how freedom works. If you want to have free speech, you have to be free to offend. Because some people will find what I'm saying now probably offensive. I mean, some people find that tree offensive. That's just the world we live in, unfortunately. And so if you're in a position where you can't possibly offend people or risk offending people, then what kind of world have you got? How do you call anything out? Because to a lot of people, definitely the establishment in all its various guises, the truth is freaking offensive. So what they're creating here is a situation where they know that we won't fight for each other and we won't stick up for each other. So these far right people that are saying this, yeah, screw them. And these loony leftist, anti-Semite, whatever you want to call them, these people are saying this, yeah, screw them as well. So all you're guaranteed there is that everyone's silenced. Because you're setting a precedent, folks. And this is the thing, isn't it? It was the same, I remember Ricky Gervais talking about it when they were talking about cancelling, you know, where you cancel people and you cheer on people's cancellation, you know, firing from jobs and whatever, is that all you're ensuring by cheering on someone's cancellation today, all you're ensuring is your cancellation tomorrow. And it's exactly the same when it comes to free speech. When you are either celebrating someone having their free speech removed, or you're meh, apathetic towards it, not bothered, that's fine, but you doing that today, all that is ensuring is that your free speech is gone tomorrow. Because you might not agree with what people say, you might hate it, you might think it's outrageous. But no one agrees with the establishment on everything. They don't. And so your side could potentially be winning right now, and therefore, yeah, shut them up. Okay, what about then? This is an example because I'm someone that supported Palestinians and I have done for a very long time, for years and years and years. Since I went to Israel in 2007, I think it was. It woke me up to a lot. But I went there to play football, by the way. I didn't go there to lick the wall. But what I found during the COVID era was a lot of those pro-Palestinian people that I'd made friends with over the years, when it came to COVID, they were on board with the narrative. And they said nothing, not all of them, but they said nothing when a lot of us were cancelled or suspended or were being vilified in the media, sacked from jobs, whatever, for calling out the COVID hoax. They said nothing. And then what happened? It set a precedent, didn't it, for censoring people and deleting people and shutting people up. So then when, you know, this genocide in Gaza, which we're supposed to pretend isn't happening, and isn't still going on, by the way, ceasefire my arse, when those people started speaking out, saying this and saying that, they started getting cancelled and deleted and fired from jobs and doxed and kicked out of university and all this kind of stuff. It's like, yeah, you were in line with the government, weren't you, on COVID? So therefore you were fine with us being deleted when we were speaking out. And now, you're not on the government line, are you? You're not on the narrative. So now you're being deleted. And what are a lot of people that were speaking out on COVID, what are they doing now you're being deleted? Nothing. So we're just ensuring that both of us get poked in the eye. Well, I refuse to go along with that. So I would speak out when people were being deleted for what they were saying about COVID. And I will speak out when people are being deleted and imprisoned for what they're saying about Israel. And I will speak out for what people are saying on everything. If someone's being arrested and going to prison for saying something, an opinion, viewing, putting forward a view that you don't have to like, you don't have to agree with it. You can see them as the enemy, you can see them as the opposite side. They're not my tribe, that's fine. But if you're cheering on their deletion and their silencing, then you're just ensuring that they're not going to be there to speak up for you when you get silenced and you get deleted. You know, it's that whole thing with the first they came for the trade unionist, I wasn't a trade unionist, so I said nothing. You know, then they came for the gypsies and the travellers and whatever, and I said nothing because I wasn't one of them, and then they came for the Jews and I wasn't Jewish, so I didn't say anything, whatever. And then they came for the communists and I wasn't communist, so I didn't say anything, whatever. And then they came for me and there was no one left to speak up for me. And it's a very famous thing, obviously, related to Nazi Germany, but it's a really good freaking point. A really good point. And that's why it's so important for us to fight for the free speech of people that we don't like and that we don't agree with. Because let's have it right, whatever side you're on, you know, whether you're pro-Israel or you're, you know, pro-Palestinian, or whether you're, you know, cheering on the narrative on COVID and, you know, vaccinate the kids and whatever, or whether you were opposite to that, whether you're pro-Russia, pro-Ukraine, it doesn't really matter. Whatever you are, we're all the target. Because if you are not part of the less than 1% billionaire class, which I'm guessing if you're watching me, you ain't, then they're coming for you as well. And so let's just unite on that. In the same way we should unite on digital ID and all that sort of stuff. We can disagree with each other on our views on lots of things, and that's fine. It makes a better world. Imagine if everyone thought the same. Imagine if everyone was the same. Imagine how dull and boring that would be. So let's speak up for people that are saying the opposite to us, and not remain silent as they're being punished and they're being imprisoned. And like I say, you don't need to like the stuff, because in the end, folks, fear of sounding melodramatic, when those 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 police officers turn up at your door, the metaphorical jackboots turn up at your door, you would want those people that you disagree with to speak up for you and stand up for you and fight for your freedom and your right to say what you believe. You'll want them there. Trust me, you'll want them there. And one way to ensure that they're there is to speak up for them when it happens to them, whether you agree with it or not.